Welcome to the One Lap Heroes podcast, because what the world needs now is another automotive podcast.
Welcome everyone to episode number 8 of the One Lap Heroes podcast, which means we've been going at it regularly every week for 2 months, which is unbelievable. Like the One Lap Heroes could not do anything for 2 months straight, and yet here we are. Hi Kostas, nice to see you.
Gab, same here. Can I tell you something? I'm ready to think that we should drop this whole thing because apparently the last episode tanked like majorly, and I'm quite curious to understand if it was the topic. If people saw like the thumbnail thinking, okay, this is gonna be like racing related, and they said, okay, this is not our thing, or if it was because we were discussing about Porsche and this is a bit posh and this and that, and our
like alienating our audience.
Exactly, our humble audience consider that this is not a topic that they are interested in. Guys, if you are following this on YouTube, which means that you can actually comment, feel free to write below what was that you didn't like in the previous episode.
So why didn't you go and click on the video? Like if you are clicking on this one, but there is a good chance that you didn't click on that one, and you're not clicking on this one either. But
that's an interesting problem that we created. Yeah. Anyway, guys, if you actually watched it and you didn't like it, I would be curious what would be the case. Because also there were also less comments, so maybe people didn't find particularly interesting. The topic of today is a bit of like a, how do you call this? Like a public service. We are actually going to try to help people, educate them about what is cool and what is on the market.
Actually, I am trying. Look at it. Look, really, what this is like a public brainstorming between us about what the fuck I can actually get. So like, anyway, we will touch on this matter later, but it will be so difficult to buy a good car today.
No, let's explain it simply. What we are discussing today is if you have to buy a new car and you want to buy something interesting, what kind of options do you have? So when Gab is going to finish this period that he's going to spend with his beloved PT Cruiser, he's going to deserve a different car. And I understand that being disappointed by the ND, he actually wants something cool. So I believe that there are people out there like Gab that they have to have for many different reasons. They have families, they do long commutes, they cannot afford the multiple cars, and they have to buy like a new car that also has to be fun and it has to do many things, even if it's a little bit compromised like an MX-5, but it still has to do things. And
I think,
what options are out there for these people?
So exactly, I am back to square one in the sense that I am back where I was when I decided eventually to get the ND. So my needs, while they might have slightly changed, my priority would still be, or rather, still is, to buy something that is first and foremost interesting to drive and fun, and it doesn't necessarily have to be fast, but it has to be fun and engaging at road speeds. So like ideally I want to have one car that can do it all or almost. Eventually with the ND we were pretty close, apart from the fact that the car didn't feel particularly nice to drive on, but beside this the car did it all. Like it was reliable and it could do track, it could do snow. So I am back there, and unfortunately my finances did not improve significantly. Hence, I am back also there, like money-wise. You could say, okay, yeah, let's go and get a 992 GT3. Yeah, if I could afford it, I would be the first on the list. But I can't. I'm nowhere near close to getting it.
So let's put limitations, Gab. Let's explain a little bit what would be like roughly our playing field. So it cannot be a €100,000 car, no? So it has to be cheaper than this.
I think it has to be, ideally, the car will be leased. So it will not be bought outright at first. So the car will be leased again for the same sort of time period. And I sort of have I am a little bit flexible with how much the leasing could cost, but I want to hover around the 500 euros or Swiss francs or whatever
per month, roughly.
Per month. It can be a little bit higher, it can be a little bit lower, preferably, but that's the number that we're looking at. Of course, you can play a little bit around with how big is the last payment and how big is the down payment. So to get there, like you have a little bit of a flexibility as far as how much the car can cost, because you can go for a 4-year leasing, so you can spread it out a little bit more and buy something that is more expensive. So like we have a little bit of flexibility, but as a psychological boundary, I cannot. Okay, we among friends, I'm gonna tell you 100K, but ideally my psychological barrier is much lower. Like my psychological barrier is like 50. Like if I have like over 50,000 euros, it becomes a financial endeavor.
Can I explain this? Because I think it's very cool. Someone from the audience, like a couple of videos back, he explained this this theory that I find this being one of my biggest problems, and I think you will connect.
The Pagani Zonda.
Correct. And I think many of the people in the audience will connect. No matter if the budget is not similar, they will have the same behavior. They're gonna have exactly the same problem that I will explain now. I normally, for me, it's very simple. For me, it's not the Pagani. It is the Porsche problem, the Cayman problem. So I go online and check for affordable Caymans. That normally means something around like 20 grand. Like used Caymans, something that you can afford, theoretically. Then, since I'm there and I know that these cars have some engine problems, and I'm thinking that should I factor in the fact that I might need like an engine rebuild and an IMS and this and that, I start thinking, okay, cool, I don't really want like a 987 Caymans, you know, so I probably need like a 987.2 or probably a 981.
Yeah.
981 Caymans.
Because the price is higher, but there is no IMS. So if you factor in the engine, it's the same price.
Correct. And we actually discussed like a few episodes back how good of a car the 981 GTS it is. So actually, Cayman 981 GTS, fantastic. However, this car keeps value quite good, because exactly for all these reasons, it stayed flat 6 while the 718 was 4-cylinder in the start, this and that. So suddenly you see actually these cars are not like a small step, unfortunately, they're like around 50 grand. 50 grand is money that I don't have. So what do? I go to the Porsche website, because if you were to buy like a Porsche, you kind of want like a Porsche approved. We're not going to discuss this right now. So I go to the Porsche website and I actually check, okay, instead of getting like a loan and getting this 50,000 euro, what would happen if I leased the car? So instead of arriving there by reason, as you did, I actually do the opposite. I arrive there by mistake. But suddenly I'm exactly in your position. So I'm actually looking leased Caymans. And I have to tell you something now. Suddenly, that 60,000 euro car doesn't sound so crazy.
You know, it's not completely out of reach. It's not completely out of reach.
Exactly. Because we are talking about like very, very reasonable payments. You know, something like 600 euro, 500 euro per month. And if you think that the average project car, you know, might actually cost you easily 1,000 euro this month, and then 200 euro the next month, then 1,000 euro the other month. So you can justify it. No, let me finish, because this is just the start of the problem. Yeah. So I'm there looking at
Cayman. You get to a GT3 like this.
Exactly. This is what I want to say. And suddenly from Caymans and 600 euro per month, I'm ending up looking at 991.2 GT3 Tourings and roughly 2,000 euro, 1,800 euro monthly payment.
Completely doable.
Exactly. And somehow, I have to tell you something, somehow I still reason with it. Like I still consider it.
Toy with the idea. Okay, yeah, because it's like you buy the Cayman, but you have to buy semi-slicks, and then you want to upgrade it. So if you factor in all of this, it's cheaper to just buy the GT3.
Correct, because if I'm gonna arrive like to 1,000 euro monthly payment, and I cannot pull this and I'm gonna suffer. Then okay, why I don't go to 1,800 euro? Which
if I have to suffer,
you go 1,200, 1,500. You say okay, fine. And then you say okay, like if I really have to go in debt, why I don't do this? Even if I could do it like only for 1 or 2 years, and then I go to jail. And I somehow for that night that I'm there looking at
it makes sense.
I do believe that it's possible, and I do say, okay, cool. Like tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna say, cool. I take a loan, I put the down payment down, and then with my monthly salaries, I barely pay a GT3, and that is my life, and I leave it for as long as I can. You know, I actually put it out there on YouTube so people can actually see the world's most broke GT3 owner and see me not being able to have food to eat, not petrol to drive, and actually see where this ends up. You know, because I think it would make fantastic reality TV. Yes. Which is in the end is what YouTube is. So that is for me the paradigm, and I find it very cool because someone close that is like into supercars, and he has all these cool cars. He described me as the guy that I would have a Zonda, manual Zonda, and I would consider it reasonable to dale it. With exactly that same logic that we arrived there. So probably if I had millions, I would probably find a way that...
The logic is solid, but it skips an undeniable truth, which is well, it all comes down to how much money
Multiple.
you have or how much money you can raise, which is because eventually there is nothing stopping you from, borrowing the money and buying it with somebody else's money. So why not? I mean, you can probably, especially if you were like, honestly, this is something I also considered. Like, let's say that I borrow the money to buy an 997 GT3, yeah, and then a 7 GT3 RS. Like even a 4 liter, if I have to borrow, because the reasoning is the same. Like if I have to borrow, I just borrow 300,000. Like I don't borrow 50,000. So like I borrow.
I was going along these lines, huh?
So
exactly.
I borrow 300,000. I get the car. I pay for it. I drive it every day or whatever, as much as I can afford to drive it. And after 10 years, I sell it, and there is a good chance that I get the money back, and or maybe even a little bit more. So, why am I not doing it? This is a valid question, and. So I have a serious answer if you want it, which is in reality is the cost of opportunity. So like instead of if I would have to borrow 300,000 euros, I would put them towards something that is more productive.
Something that's gonna make you money.
Yeah,
but I have to tell you something.
Money. But maybe the Porsche will make me money, but it's a much riskier.
I have to tell you something. The guy that actually goes out there and he buys a Pagani Zonda as a winter car, if he did this at the time, he literally borrows all this money and he buys a Zonda. That car, 5 years after, is more or less at its money. But today, that car is worth 2 million or 3 million. And I have to tell you something. I don't know how business savvy you are. You cannot start with a capital of like 300,000 euro and end up to 4 million while you're also having fun with a car that you absolutely love. So maybe the Zonda actually makes sense. Maybe the Pagani Zonda.
As I said, the financial principle makes sense, especially now because the money is very cheap. But you have to be like a little bit reckless. Because this can go like. But anyway, let's close this tangent.
Fantastic tangent. I absolutely loved it. Guys, if you want more detail on how our brains tick, we're going to be happy to include more of that in upcoming podcasts. Let's talk something more reasonable.
So we have established.
Make a list. I go make my list. You go make your list, and then we start going straight. I would say we go by price. No,
correct.
So
I have my list. I have my list, and I've tried to stick to what I said as much as possible, although I might have strayed over the boundaries a little bit with my last two picks. But
one for you, one for me. Go.
I will start with the first one, and I know this is gonna be controversial.
As long as it's not what I think it is, you're good.
MX-5 ND 2 liters.
I quit.
So yeah. Hold on. So like, okay, why? So I can see all the people saying why
exactly. Right. You made me make and watch all these series. Why there is an ND in your list?
Well, for the simple fact that I recognize that the options are limited. And you cannot completely exclude the car from your options. Because as I said, the positives are wide. And, everybody's saying that the ND2 has much improved steering and whatnot. And the 2 liter is much faster. So I would not buy a 1.5 again. I would probably buy a 2 liter. And I would buy a new model. Well, because of the reason that we explained. And the price would be a little bit higher because we are talking now. The car is going up, and we're talking now like in Germany, I think it's something like 36,000 euros to buy it. Then you get like discounts and whatever, but that's the price. And I think it's not worth the money. I genuinely believe the car is too expensive for what it is. Like 36,000 euros is a lot of money, and you will see how much money it is when I give you the next option. But you have to. I think you cannot build a list of like your short list of 5 cars that are new, that are
without
an NX5. And like
so cool.
I think this is. I mean, this puts the car in perspective in a sense that despite me not liking it, unfortunately, if today I'm looking for a new car, this car has to come back on the list because there is not much else. Although there is something else, but there is not much else. And I believe it's overpriced. I believe I would be completely disappointed, especially after spending like effectively 12,000 euros more than what I spent for the, with like 30% more than what I paid mine. But you know, that's one of my options. What's your first one, Kostas? What would you suggest me to buy?
Not only I get you, but I found the same problem. I went in the list thinking I will put like a list of rear-wheel drive cars, you know, like only rear-wheel drive cars, only fun cars. And of course, I realized that not only what we were discussing a few episodes back is valid, like there are no affordable rear-wheel drive options. Okay, that at least not many that I would buy with my own money. But I realized that there is a reason that I'm always looking at used cars. I would probably not buy anything as far as like value goes these days.
It's the same for me.
Cars are fantastic, but they are really so expensive. And of course, I know that this is like a returning theme. You know, we talked about it earlier. It felt hitting home even more now that I was actually putting a list again. You know, and I was looking at actual prices. So you're gonna find this funny. Just for $2,000 more than your ND, you know, you're like sitting at 36, a little bit more, especially here in Germany. Sitting at 38, one could get a Civic Type R.
Okay.
Listen, I know, it is front-wheel drive, but I want you to understand a little bit this. We are gonna jump from 184 horsepower to 320.
But this
horsepower.
is what I'm saying. Like the ND, it's not worth the money. Like if you already see your first choice has already placed the ND, like from a logical perspective, has already placed the ND completely out of the market, because you buy like the Civic Type R, yes, it's front-wheel drive. I mean, you cannot get around the fact that it's front-wheel drive. And if you don't want it, you don't want it. But every other measurable metric it's not a little bit better. It's like,
but the amount of performance, exactly. The amount of performance. So I was actually thinking,
space also. Fuck, you can put you can put people in it.
I was trying to put the list in a bit of like logical terms, you know, and I could imagine a guy in Germany going to a dealership, getting this price, the amount of car that you get, rear seats, full of space, can travel easily, a very cool 6-speed gearbox, equally cool as the Mazda 1. The Mazda 1 is fantastic, but the Civic one is fantastic. Is also very brakes that are like out of this world, a very solid engine, and if you were talking about Nürburgring lap times, this car is like almost like a minute faster than an ND. Like especially if you have to keep both in stock form. Like we're talking about a huge space. And yes, of course, I understand. You know, like if you guys are in Italy, okay, and your local track is I don't know, like Monza or like a GP style track, Mugello, whatever, and you go with a stock Civic Type R, you're probably not gonna have like a lot of fun. But I tell you something, you go with a stock ND,
also you're not gonna
don't have fun either. So for me, this is still it's like an argument that stands, and I don't believe it that I'm saying it, but like between the two cars, you know, like with such a small price difference, I might have went for the front-wheel drive car. And I also, to finish this small parenthesis, I actually looked at all hot hatches, you know, like cool cars like the Hyundai i30N, that's like one of my favorites, you know. But like when the price goes like, and it's an affordable car, like around 27 entry price, you know, like or something like this. But when the price goes there, and we're talking about like leasing the car, and the monthly price difference for a Type R is that small, it
becomes like a 50 euros difference. So it's
exactly the only hot hatch I would actually buy currently is the Honda Civic Type R. Guys, crazy amount of performance, and that is me. Strangely, your number 4.
So I have to clarify something, like a small caveat, in the sense that I did stick religiously to the rear-wheel drive manual recipe. Hence, not a single car on my list. Actually, I did. Actually, no, this is false. I didn't. But I didn't go front-wheel drive, let's say.
So actually, I'm the sinner here. Okay.
Yeah, because my next car, which funnily enough is priced almost identical to the list price of the ND, so it's like sub 40,000 euros. Like depending on the options, is like 36, 38, 39, whatever. Is the Toyota Yaris GR, and I have to tell you something. Like if you look honestly, who buys an ND? You have to be stupid. Honestly, I tell you. Like, can I be genuine about it? Like, I thought the price cap would be like 10 grand minimum, but the car is, as far as the leasing is concerned, they are equivalent. So the monthly payment boils down to the same price pretty much, you know. Like, who buys the ND? Why? You have to explain to me why. Because I have not driven a Yaris GR in my life, I'll admit. But on paper, just as much as the Civic did, it's a completely different planet.
300 horsepower almost.
Like
again.
Yeah, like the car is probably, like everybody says that the car is probably close to 300 horsepower as they are. Like the numbers they are officially saying are a bit underestimated, but nevertheless, the power is like the technology that is in it. Like, but even without this, like even the fact that one is so special, like the car that is unique and that is built with a purpose. So it is a car that will never be built again. Like it is a one-off. Like
it's a bit of a special one, yeah.
It's a bit of a special, unique car. And who buys with the same money? Who goes into a Mazda dealership and say no, give me the Mazda? So the only excuse is if you want exclusively rear-wheel drive.
But I have to ask you this question, Gab. So this is an honest question. This is not like me versus you.
No. It's
honestly. At 37 Yaris, 38 Civic Type R, would you go for a Yaris if you want the hot hats?
I would,
like, performance-wise, from what I've seen at least here at the ring, you know, like, I don't think the Yaris is faster.
No,
the hype is
not.
strong. I'm really worried that it's probably not even a better car. So what do you think?
Like, if I was an alien being thrown on planet Earth, it would be very difficult to explain why I would buy a Yaris GR, or for that matter, why would anybody would buy an ND, given that the price difference is so small to Civic Type R, which is arguably better in every way. Although I think while it is better in every way than the ND, it is a bit debatable whether or not it's better in every way than the Yaris GR. But I think, like, I give you, so what would stop me from getting a Type R is like it looks like a little bit like yobbish, like it looks like a bit boy racer kind of thing. So
we agree. I hate how it looks.
It looks a little bit. It looks a little bit too much, you know. Like it looks a little bit unnecessarily like triple exhaust. What is this? Like it's.
But the Yaris is also a little bit too much. In my opinion, it's a better looking car.
But I think this. I think like they could have made the Civic Type R just as fast and just as performance oriented without all these extra bits. So like they could have a normal exhaust in the car, and they could have like a normal wing in the car. So like they went above and beyond to make it outrageous. And to me,
it didn't work out.
To me, it didn't. To me, I don't like the looks. I'm not a particularly big fan of the Yaris either. So I think the ND, for that matter, looks better than both.
Much prettier.
Yeah. So, but you know, the Yaris, I go back to the same thing that I said. It's like the Civic Type Rs, you know, there is like a million of them, and there was a generation before, and there will be the generation after. So the Yaris GR is like a unique piece of car. They are selling it under the cost that it cost them to make them. It is not something that happens every other day. I have not driven a Yaris GR, so maybe I drive one and I say this is a fucking piece of shit. But
I think that is the selling point. I get you.
So like, but one thing is special and one thing is just another car. So, and if I have to, this also goes into the consideration of what I would buy. So, you know, I would be torn. So like, if I would have to pick one of these two cars, I would consider them both. But eventually, I think the looks of the Civic would be unbearable. Like on an everyday basis, like it looks too much.
Said the guy that currently owns a PT Cruiser. I want the audience to know this. Okay, fantastic.
It's an instant classic, the PT Cruiser.
MX-5 and D, Yaris GR from your side,
yes.
Type R for me, and it's time to tell you my second option.
Yes.
I have to be honest with you, man. I struggled. Like honestly.
Yeah, but you set the bar quite high with the first car. Like the first car is like a 300 horsepower front wheel.
Listen, I will tell you, it goes like this. Like honestly, the only under 50,000 euro new car that I would buy today is the Civic Type R. I looked at all of them and I could not justify any. So almost everything that I have coming here is like above
over
50.
Fantastic.
And I know. It doesn't exactly fit the bill, but you know, let's be realistic.
I agree with you. I agree with you that.
For people leasing, it's the same down payment, and I believe that the guy that can afford like 600 euro per month for a car payment, he can also afford 800 euro and he can afford 400 euro. I know this is not really real in the sense that it's literally 800 euro to 400 euro is double the money. I get it. But at the same time, realistically, the guy that is ready to afford this can
I think if you really want it, then you can probably
exactly.
you can sacrifice something else.
And in the end, I have to be honest about this. This is also how I would react. Like the moment I would have the budget out and I would have to commit with a car for the next 3 years, I would want something exciting. So the only other exciting car that I could find after the Civic Type R, trying to still stay like in the envelope, it's actually particularly cool. It's a very cool car. It's a car that I've driven a bit, and it is the Renault Alpine. In my humble opinion, it is one of the best resto modern designs of the recent times. You know, like this is a very troubled thing. You know, like when it, like the new Beetle and 911 trying to keep the lineage, and it's very tricky. Like rebuilding the mini brand for BMW. I think it's a very tricky thing, and I do believe that the Alpine. They did this perfect, man. I see an Alpine in blue, in that beautiful blue metallic color.
It looks very cool.
And I think the car looks all the fucking money. Like honestly, sometimes I have to be honest with you. I actually like it more than the Cayman because also the interior of the car is quite unique. And I know you are guys here at One Lap Heroes, you know, and you hear us talk about like 50,000 euro cars and interiors. But let's be honest, like in our real lives,
with it every day.
In our real lives, exactly. These are things that actually matter. And when I look inside an Alpine and I go in and I touch everything and everything feels the right way, it makes a difference. And because we are talking in the end about like real world living with a car in all conditions, we're not talking anymore about like stripping an E36 and going under 7 or whatever.
No, this is
like,
not
you
the
want
point.
all these things. You want something that is like a cool object, and exactly the same way
that works on every level. Like you have to go, you have to be able to go in the center of a city and don't look like you are
everything.
I want to be hyped
about my purchase. You know, like I want to feel like you said, like the Yaris makes you feel that you have something a bit unique. The Alpine for me, it does this 100%. Like it makes me feel that this is a very cool car. There is only one letdown, and I have to tell you something. Like Alpine fits all my boxes. Like it's steering feel fantastic, super lightweight, engineered in a very cool way. Again, it's a little bit of like an exercise. So clearly a car that's almost a bit too much car for your money. You know. And the only thing that lets it down is, unfortunately, I'm very familiar with this drivetrain that is in the back. It's the same drivetrain that is in our Megans, in the Megane RS300. This 1.8 turbo. And contrary to the previous drivetrain, you know, that 2-liter turbo engine that's actually quite good in the RS265. Unfortunately, the 1.8T is not such a good package. It has some reliability issues. And I'm afraid that like in an Alpine, in the back, not a manual gearbox. Exactly. I'm a little bit worried.
Because it's not available in manual, right?
No, absolutely not. You only have like one package.
That for me is like a little bit of a letdown, to be honest.
However, since we're talking about a scenario that this is a lease car, so basically it comes to my hands and it stays to my hands for 2 or 3 years, you know, whatever.
Yeah, who cares if the engine explodes like 10 times?
Exactly. This gives you the fantastic opportunity of not caring about any of this. The car is inside the warranty. You do whatever, you drive it hard. You don't modify it, of course. And I think I could live with this car not modified. I even like it like soft and all these things. And when it explodes, it explodes. And,
you know what? I have never driven one.
Yeah, man, it's a fantastic car. I hope we get...
This is why I didn't think about it, maybe because I didn't driven one. And
beautiful thing. I haven't driven it on track, and I really hate myself not having.
But they have racing like a pedigree to some extent, in the sense that they have like a single make cup, and they even have like GT4 versions of the car, which have proved to be competitive. Yeah, so it's like.
So Gab,
it's a cool car.
Give me more.
I will have to look
for me,
into
2 for you. You should.
All right.
You definitely should. You.
Okay, my third car seems like the perfect bill. I tell you, like on paper, everything is there. Even when it comes out, it's there. Like it works perfect.
I can feel you don't like it already.
No.
I know you.
No. I like it. Okay, let's go straight to it. It's like the Toyota GR86. And it's the second Toyota in my list. third
The
Japanese
new
car
one.
in my list.
Okay.
So
Okay.
apparently coming up end of this year or early next year. So probably you can order it now.
Quite a bit more reasonable than mine, huh? What's the price, like roughly? What do we think that it's gonna be? Where it's gonna land?
Okay, so on this one, it's like there is still, I couldn't find at least an official price in Europe, but it is like approximately listed as at 34,000 USD. So I would say like this is under 40 grand. It's a sub 40 grand car, which is bang on the money of the Yaris GR and bang on the money of the ND. And once again, I cannot fathom anybody buying an ND in 2022. Like literally, I think they will sell like 10 cars in 2022 because when this comes out, there's no reason to buy an MX-5 ND. Besides, you want to have the roof open because this supposedly this addresses the problem that the earlier generation had. So the first issue,
have a reason.
The first one, the first thing that it addresses is the looks. It looks fantastic, and the old one looked like a piece of shit. And
very interesting. We completely disagree on this. Go, keep going, and I will speak.
Really, you disagree on it? Okay. I really like the looks. I know it lost a little bit of character. It looks a little bit like boring, but I like it. I like it like that, and so I like how it looks. And they also addressed apparently the engine issue, such as the lack
some torque finally.
Lack of torque. So like the 2.4 GR supposedly have like 240 horsepower thereabout, a little bit more torque. They stay supposedly on paper at the moment. They released a weight that is pretty much identical to the old model. It is rear-wheel drive. It is a manual gearbox. So it's perfect. So it is difficult to find one thing wrong.
It is not perfect. It is not perfect. It has two problems. It has two problems. Problem number one, it's gonna be stomped by my Civic Type R that is like at the bottom of my list because performance-wise there is like probably not.
But this is rear-wheel drive then.
I agree. And this is the second problem. The second problem is gonna be stopped by my option number two, which is of course more expensive. But I will build my argument.
Fuck! It's like you can almost buy two of these, motherfucker.
I know, almost. But I have to tell you something, just for the looks, because I find this particularly interesting. I actually don't like any of the two, the GT86s, the BRZs, whatever. But I think that the first generation actually had a bit of character because of the angles.
Oh, it looks horrible, man.
Okay, no, I don't like any of the two. But for me, the moment they made it a little bit more round and a little bit more vanilla, it actually completely lost it. And I have to say something. This is a testament to how good looking is the fucking ND. Because I tell you, between these cars,
ND is really
I would take an ND
and especially the looks of the ND are really up there. And especially because, do you remember like when it came out, it was like, it doesn't look really that good, especially the rear. But now it really looks really good. And yeah, but
I do have dreams. About like a dark metallic ND RF.
Do you
RF?
have
like
RF?
Like I don't. But
are you American? Are you a secret American?
I don't know. But
the RF is only bought by Americans. Literally, I don't know of anybody in Europe that buys an RF.
It floats my
boat. If you're European and you buy an RF, I don't get it. Why don't you just buy a GT86? Like literally, it makes no sense.
It floats my boat much more than the GT86, especially the second generation. Like I don't get it. But anyway, I will keep going.
In my mind, this car is pretty much fits the bill to a T.
To the dot.
And it also supposedly have a little bit improved interiors, which were absolutely horrifying in the first generation.
Horrifying in both.
Yeah. But anyway, it looks better. Like the dash looks quite interesting. I think the car looks great. For some reason, I love how it looks, and I think this has a very good chance of being my next car. To be honest, like chances are high, and I don't know. I think the biggest issue now will be when. One issue is still space. So one of the points that it has against, for example, the Civic that we discussed or the Yaris GR, is that space is even more compromised. Like of course, the Civic would be the best choice. The Yaris GR is already a bit of a compromise, but especially because you cannot put anything on the roof. Because it's useless carbon fiber roof, and it's a little bit disappointing. With this car though, is a little even more extreme. I don't think you can put anything in it. So like especially I remember the last generation being not only small but also like badly small, like small in a bad way.
Badly
like,
designed, yeah.
Like
yeah.
you could not fit anything in it, at least in my experience.
Do you know Toyota has this fantastic thing that they said they designed it perfect so you can actually fit like 4 tires and the jack inside the back of the GT86 and go to the track and you can actually change your wheels and do this and that. Unfortunately, in real world, people actually put other kind of things that are not 4 wheels. So yeah, fantastic.
Yes, we can put 4 wheels. But
yeah,
where do I put my bike?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. I can see you liking the car.
I like it a lot.
I do like it because it means that there is some soul left in you.
Yes, I like it a lot.
As I told you, your problem is my next pick because like in the third position.
Yeah, your next pick is I can imagine being already 80 grand or something.
No, it's not 80 grand. But unfortunately, it is.
Unfortunately, it's not 35 either, though.
Exactly. So let's say that your car, the GT86, is.
I'm being the reasonable one.
You are. It's crazy.
Because it's my money. You know why I'm being
reasonable. Cars are so expensive. I would unfortunately jump another 20 grand up, which is
fantastic.
half the money of your car. But BMW M2 competition. Listen a little bit to this argument. It starts at 62 grand. I know.
Okay.
That
I actually, this is cheaper than I thought.
Some fantastic deals. I have heard crazy prices that I cannot discuss like publicly on air, but I have heard of some crazy deals. I think like last year BMW was trying to get rid of these cars. We are talking about the engine from the BMW M4 and M3. Fantastic engine. Like, unfortunately, like I don't like this engine, and I want to not like it, but the potential and the power.
Yes.
Man, engine, what an engine. And in my head, I could not have this list and not have like a
BMW
front engine. No, BMW I could easily do without, but I wanted like a front engine rear wheel drive car.
Like I also have one.
I actually wanted one. Like for me, it's very important. It is something I know that maybe we speak a lot like about MR cars and all these different things, but like and probably our dream cars might be like RR or MR, Cayman, GT4s, GT3s and whatnot. But at the same time, I cannot easily imagine myself without having like a front engine rear wheel drive car. And I think the only car that I kind of want in this segment from new cars, unfortunately, it would be a fucking BMW. And I do not like that. But
I don't know about the. I tell you something. I know BMW a little bit, and I quite like it. So, for example, I even like the M4, so like the race car. Although this is a bit of a weird position. Like not many people like it. Let's put it.
What do you do?
But
is it because you did fantastic last weekend?
I don't know. But I like it. I find it very communicative when you get to understand it.
How it works, yeah.
And the M2 that I only drove one of the early models, so like the first generation, and I found it utterly underwhelming. But this is when it had like the N55 still, I think it was, yeah. So that car didn't really do anything for me. Like it just felt like an M135. So do you know what I'm saying? Like
it
didn't feel like an M car at all.
And the problem still exists, even in the M2 competition. But
so like. And of course, the CS is one of my must-have cars, but 100,000 euros and more.
For me, absolutely doesn't want. You buy a Renault Megane Trophy R, you buy an M2 CS. I don't know. You buy this type of like special versions that are in the end they're not special. They're equally heavy.
You just wasted money.
Actually, exactly. Remember what I just said. You know, like M2. Competition slipped in my list because of the price, because it actually the money makes sense.
At that price,
so price
is especially when you compare it to my next picks. But anyway, the M2 competition is an interesting idea as well, which I didn't know.
Give me your next pick.
I didn't think about the M2 because I thought it would be much more expensive. Maybe because I had the CS in mind.
My man, 62. And imagine,
it's a lot of money, but it's
for sure. But it's also not a lot of money for someone leasing the car. And by the way, if someone was considering to buy like €100,000 M2 CS, like think what you could do with this €40,000. I know that doesn't work like this, but think what you could do in your M2 Comp. So actually, buy an M2 Comp and improve it. By the way, one big black note in this whole like BMW M2 makes sense is the weight. These cars are 1,500 kilogram cars.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
1,600 kilogram. 1,600 kilogram cars. And when you have in the same list cars like the Alpine, you know, for a little bit less money, let's not kid ourselves. I would probably do Alpine, but.
I think though on the matter of weight, like this extra, almost like this extra half a ton and more. It goes into something.
It's a problem.
It is a problem. It is a problem, but one car will like it feels solid and.
Man, a GT3 is lighter. This is not okay.
It is the heaviest car we listed until now, because every single car we listed.
I want to know what's on the top of your list. Close to the top of your list. What's your number 4?
This is not on the top of my list, but this is also a car that I can't get rid of in my head. It's a Lotus Elise Sport 240 Final Edition, which is I don't pick this version because I like it specifically. I am forced by the brand to pick it
to buy that
because this is the only car they would sell me.
How the fuck you put a Lotus there? Okay, man.
For the same reason you put an Alpine. Like,
are you Gabriel Piana? You are turning sentimental. I have to tell you this.
Yes, probably.
You are turning sentimental. You added a Lotus in the list, like.
Yeah, probably this is me trying to relive my youth or something.
Your youth.
Yeah, of course. Let's not get.
Tell me more. Price specs.
Like it's a €60,000 car. It's a €60,000 1.8 Toyota engine car, which has the same, basically the same design, the same chassis as a car as the 1998 Lotus Elise. So it's a bit difficult to justify it. So like. Honestly,
man, sorry, I will interrupt you. I apologize. I will interrupt you. Imagine this track day, guys. You know, like I can imagine it. They buy these new cars, Lotus Elise, like final edition, super special. I always want one of these cars. And the other buys an M2 Comp, and of course, because it's the M2, he actually goes and puts also like a filter and a reflash. And they arrive to the racetrack.
The car has like 700 horsepower.
Exactly. And the Lotus guy is on full race suit, everything branded Lotus, and he has like a fantastic helmet.
Yeah, but that's the Lotus guy.
And the BMW guy is like with a t-shirt, you know, and literally 400 horsepower more, like a complete M2 on top of the Lotus horsepower. How does this go on track? The Lotus is not faster anywhere, not even turning. Like it's not faster anywhere.
But it's gonna feel much better though. Like
I don't believe so.
It is gonna feel fantastic. Honestly, I have not driven.
I don't believe so.
I will like to tell you something. I have driven. We have driven together a very recent Exige, and I don't know. It feels like a little bit on the Exige. I think a little bit of the spirit has gone.
Radical thing, huh?
Yeah, it's very fast, very fantastic, but it's so loud. Honestly. To live with every day, tricky. Like even for me, like I'm relatively hardcore, but that car is hardcore, like proper.
Comment if you would like to see us making a video on this, but
on the Lotus. Please say yes so that we can get out and drive it again.
I had this idea that I wanted Gab to relive his Lotus years, so he actually remembers a little bit how that is. So we arranged something cool and we drove this car. That was absolutely radical. We're not gonna spoil it here, but if you would like us to see,
if you would like to see that,
exactly. Please comment. Okay, very interesting. Can I do something?
So eventually, I have a feeling. The Lotus is a choice that I've like. My heart beats for it, but every other part of my body tells me to run away as far as I can.
That's what I believe.
Also because, like, genuinely. So first of all, I think it has the same problem of the ND to some extent, is that the price is just unreasonable. Like for what you are buying now, the price is out of this world. Like you cannot spend 60 grand on a Lotus Elise right now. There is absolutely makes absolutely no sense. It's like spending 70K for a Caterham. It's like you have to be stupid in your head to buy.
And
to
I'm
pay
really
that
sorry,
money.
Gab. Can I tell you something? This is gonna be our problem because it seems like a repeating pattern. And guys, we honestly made our lists like separate, so it's very funny. But your biggest problem, like on that imaginary purchase, is what I've picked. Because what I've picked, like straight after what you picked, it's gonna shock you, and it is quite similar price-wise. Should I jump into it straight? Do you think? We'll
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So
I don't know.
actually-
Like as I said, the Lotus is gonna be fantastic to drive, but absolutely a pain in the ass to live with. So I'm considering it, but it is very highly unlikely.
It is there because of what you feel about the brand,
Yes,
and
yes.
what you feel about living with a Lotus, and it's not there because it really makes sense in that list.
No,
And
it
this is
doesn't.
why the car that I have there on my number 2 slot, so very close to my top as well, it is a Cayman 718T. So
Okay,
let me explain.
let me explain. Let me ask you something. What is the T? Because I'm a little bit lost with the Cayman range.
Exactly. Let me explain what is the T. And also, before I even do this, let's start price-wise.
Okay,
65,000 euro.
It's
Completely
possible.
empty. It's 65,000 euro. It's only
But
5,000
you
euro
cannot
more.
buy it at 65K. Like I can guarantee
can.
you,
Brand
Porsche
new, brand
does
new.
not build a 65,000 euro version of that car.
Not
Like they
only
don't
they
have
do-
it. If you
No,
don't,
exactly.
I don't believe it. I don't believe
Exactly.
it. I believe if
Listen.
you go into a workshop, if you go into a dealer and say I want the 65,000, like with nothing in it, they go like, oh my god, we actually
but-
we don't have the we have to retool the the factory to be able to build it.
I feel you, and it's probably gonna be a 70,000 euro car when you finish. But again, in the lease environment, I think this is not gonna make a difference. Like this 5,000 euro, like 60 to 65, it makes no fucking sense. But the T, I think, is a very smart spec. So if you watch car reviews like online, the T makes 0 sense. Like if you are a journalist and you get a car from Porsche for 5 days, this is like roughly like the review time normally, and you drive the T, and of course before you had the GTS and the GT4 and this and that and NS, of course the T makes no sense. You don't even understand it. But we are talking rear world, and the T has this. It has the small 2-liter engine, so it's the 4-cylinder 2-liter engine, 300 horsepower, a decent amount of power. 300
Same
horsepower.
power as the Civic.
Yeah, for sure. But I have to tell you something. I do believe that the Cayman, when it goes on a racetrack against the Civic, even having like a quite similar weight, I would say the Cayman is not only a better car to drive, but it might even be faster. It might surprise you.
At the very least, it's going to be much better to drive.
Exactly, because the Cayman T has the option of the sport suspension, and it has already the differential, so it actually has the torque vectoring in the rear and the proper differential. So basically, it's like you're getting a little bit like the GTS package, all the things that makes the GTS a GTS, but you get the small engine. And I want to explain this a little bit. The 4-cylinder engines take a lot of flack, and people don't like them, and they say they destroy
I think
the
they
brand,
sound cool, by the way.
For me, sound doesn't matter, because actually the Alpine that I absolutely love is also 4-cylinder.
Sounds like a Hoover, yeah.
Exactly, it's a normal 4-cylinder Megane engine, so nothing special there. And many other special cars that we lasted for years are 4-cylinder. And the Civic that I have there is 4-cylinder.
The Yaris with the list is 3-cylinder.
Exactly. So everyone is talking about this screaming Ivy Tech engine and this and that. So for me, the sound doesn't matter at all. And in the real world, if you have 300 or 350 horsepower or 385 horsepower in your Cayman, I think it's not important, because anyway, the M2 that we discussed a bit earlier before is gonna smoke you on a straight line. But at least, and because I've driven these cars, that 300 horsepower is real 300 horsepower. So contrarily to the Lotus, which again, I consider that every single guy that wants to buy a Lotus or says that wants to buy a Lotus because of the driving experience, 99% of them, they should have bought a Cayman, because they want the Cayman, but they don't know that they want the Cayman, but they want the Cayman, trust me. For that very small, like 1%, 2%, 5%, whatever it is that they really want the Lotus, they should buy a Lotus, and of course.
But then go and buy the Exige.
Exactly, and buy the real one, and buy a big V6 engine, and go crazy and enjoy the whole thing. Like make it like a track car, make it unique, enjoy it. So for everyone else, if you want the whole experience, having the 2-liter engine or the 2.5-liter engine, or even now that you're going to get the 718 with a 6-cylinder engine, so there is like a 4-liter engine. All these things in the real world, they matter a bit less, because let's be honest, these cars, for what they're going to be used in most of the time, the 2-liter engine does it perfect. And then on the track, it's still fast enough so you don't feel that you are there like with an econo box. Okay, so basically, package-wise, I think it actually works. And that is, for me, the Cayman T is this. Is the MR experience in a package that is watered down, but not completely. Something that works, something that ticks all the boxes, because it still handles like a Cayman, brakes like a Cayman. You can even get it with a PDK. So I would probably...
Why?
I think it's sacrilege. No, I think it's sacrilege, but I would probably, because we're talking about like an all-around car, I would probably consider the PDK as well. So I don't know, because also that manual is a very cool transmission, but I would consider the PDK.
But the PDK itself is already 70 grand.
No. We have to check exactly the price, but I think you can get like maybe you touch the 70, but you can get the PDK in. Maybe 70 you can have like the PDK in the seats, and it's like a fantastic spec. But in my humble opinion, I think for people that actually want to go out and drive and enjoy driving on the roads and do long trips and then do the occasional track day, so for someone that wants to do all these things and you want the MR experience, that's the car that you want. You don't want to buy an MR2 and build a project. You don't want to buy something much more expensive. You don't need a Cayman GT4.
But also because because it's completely irrelevant. So like the scenario where I build an MR2 up, it's not existing in this podcast. Like these are list of cars that you go and buy new in a showroom. I believe it's a trap also for the guy that wants to build a track car, but for me it's not even one option. It's not even an option. It's not even something that we need to discuss. Like, I need a car that I go into showroom, they give me the key, they say, okay, ciao, and if you have any problem, you call us and we fix it. So
what is the number one thing on your list? So exactly, what you just described. What is the number one thing on your list? Which, imagine something very cool, no?
Kostas, you're not ready for my next one.
I'm not. Tell me.
The Lotus I strayed, I think I was on the boundary of what was possible financially with the leasing. Here I'm going like at the extra step, like...
Are you going Kostas?
I'm going a little bit Kostas, and my next option, Kostas, hold on tight. My next option is a Ford Mustang 350R.
Yes! Fucking yes! Yes! From me, it's a yes. A man that knows.
All right.
A man that knows cars. People in the comments going crazy.
Okay, so this is arguably, I'm not joking around now. There is a very high chance that this is the fastest car you can buy today to go on track. Like, if you don't do anything to it. Like, if you buy it and go on track, I think there is no GT3 that stands half a chance. Like, it's completely... Yeah, but
still,
maybe it does, but it's like double the money. Like, literally, it's more than double the money, because this car can be had with like 80,000 euros.
In Europe, no.
Yes, in Switzerland, you can buy it new for approximately 90,000 Swiss francs, which is pretty much round about 80,000 euros. Which is
really?
Eventually it is the price. It is less. So it is less money than the M2 CS.
Give me specs. How much power?
Okay, so specs. You want to know the specs?
Give me specs. Give me specs.
I will start with the important thing. Manual gearbox, 6 speeds, V8, naturally aspirated, 530 horsepower, revving to 8.5 thousand RPMs. Carbon wheels, like carbon fiber wheels. It has all the bells and whistles. It has, of course, inside is a little bit American, like it has big seats.
Seats, I remember the actual seats.
The seats
they
are
cool,
proper.
But they are like these. They're like fucking sofas. They are like
No. On the seats are proper, like bucket seats from Recaro. I think they are like, I think they are the CS, like you know that the one that you can recline, like the one in the Megane. And of course, it has inside. It has everything like Bluetooth, GPS, whatever you might need. The car sounds insane.
I love
it. Sounds like a NASCAR. It sounds like a NASCAR.
The interior quality is probably similar with the Yaris GR. So like
interior quality is on par. the car is the car, man.
Mega car.
The car is like a mega car, and okay, it's expensive. It's expensive. It's gonna cost a fortune in fuel because, of course, this car has one purpose. Like, it is to go fast. It cannot go slow. This car has one purpose, which is to go fast. I believe. I think it looks fantastic. Also, so
I love this.
Okay,
so you can get this with warranty and everything.
Yeah,
You buy
of
new,
course, like new car.
I absolutely love it.
I don't know. I don't know if you can do it in Germany, but in Switzerland you can buy it like new. Like brand new.
Go and check one of these reviews online if you haven't. You know, if you think like Mustangs and they're like Corvettes and they're like
absolutely
old,
not. This is a weapon, guys.
This is a track weapon. This is absolutely a track weapon.
Weapon.
All the reviews that I've read and all the reviews that I've seen, they are actually ecstatic almost. And it's actually. Sometimes it's the 350R, it's the small one. It's actually the cool track car. And then of course, if you
actually,
want, the bragging rights.
To be honest, I could easily go for the 350, which is the same as the R, beside the carbon wheels. But if you want, it's like going DRS. It's like going GT3 or GT3 RS. Like
you want the space.
If you have to go far, go all the way.
I think exactly, but it's the opposite of the Cayman T. So like the Cayman T, if you want to go reasonable, you buy the Cayman T. But if you want
this is completely unreasonable. This is a special car, ultra rare, incredible. Guys, the car is insane. Like it sounds mad, and it goes like hell, and it's like a race car. It's a race car for the road. It's insane. There is nothing else you can buy that is closer to a race car.
People that don't know Gab, they probably don't know that at some point he was considering like a Viper. So the guy that had a 1.5 and D, he was considering a Viper GTS, which is also like one of our favorite cars. Like it's a very special car.
Yes. For
the opposite reasons, I find this particularly interesting. How like completely normal guys that they used to like you had an Elise, a super lightweight car, MX-5s, and we love them for the reasons that we love them. We also have like this other spot that we have all these strange cars, you know, that they absolutely don't work. And this is how people, when they want like a rear-wheel drive car, they end up with the same BMW M2.
Yeah.
And especially currently, like in 2021, you know, like a Nürburgring Saturdays and Sundays TF, you know, it looks like a BMW M2 Cup. So everyone's driving the same fucking cars. Like,
Yaris GR.
Guys, like really buy something else. So I understand how this happens. And if you end up with a GT86, I will fully understand. But the same time, I like that this other Gab is still in there, you know, and he wants these crazy, strange things. So actually, this is a fantastic choice. I do believe that if someone was about to get this amount of money to lease something vanilla, as we said before, like to get like a base spec M3 or M4, go get a Mustang and drive for 3 years of your life something absolutely brutal.
The car is
crazy.
Insane, man. I tell you,
sure,
this is
I love this.
This is one of my favorite cars.
And I have to tell you something. We couldn't have faked this, you know, even if we wanted. It's very funny because in the top spot of my list, I went through a very similar procedure. I wanted to have like a Camaro's ZL1, so I thought like a Camaro is again one of these cars that are a little bit like a, or even like a, even like a previous generation Corvette, but of course it wasn't possible. So, but I wanted like a little bit of like a wild card. I wanted something like different, exactly for the same reasons that you picked the Mustang. And if I was to cheat, and I had to be like real Kostas, I would probably not put this car there. But in the concept of this list, I managed to sneak in a 99,000 euro car. Which is the completely base price of a Corvette C8.
No way, it's like the modern one, the new one.
Yeah, the brand new, the mid-engine Corvette.
Let me Google it.
Corvette C8. So it is coming in Germany. So it's this year, 2021, at the end of the year, I think, like mid-year, towards the end of the year.
I cannot go around with a fucking Corvette, man.
It is, I can tell you something though, it's a fantastic car, man. Like the amount of engineering that they put in this thing, and it actually, I personally actually like how it looks. It's a little bit spaceship, you know. It's not like the car that I would like to keep my whole life, but it's easily a car that I could live with for 3 years, and especially for like a.
It looks a little bit GT40, no?
exactly.
It's a little bit
very,
GT,
it's a
Ford
very unique
GT.
car. It's a little bit like a Ford GT vibes, but also like a Camaro tail lights that we had in the parts bin, and we dropped them there, and they don't exactly fit.
I see it.
And there is a bit of
I'm
Lamborghini.
Googling it right now.
There's a little bit of different things going.
Man, the steering wheel is...
Go
the
check,
cockpit is insane.
The cockpit is insane. So go check Corvette C8.
The cockpit is like a plane. It's like an airplane.
But imagine that you go in a normal Chevrolet dealership here in Germany and you buy this car and you service it there. Actually, you don't service it because finally you have like an LS, like you have like a cool V8 engine. And
the cockpit is madness.
It's a space age fighter pilot inspired and whatnot. It's a very cool thing. Yeah,
Absolute madness. Guys, I don't know if you know the C8, but the cockpit is insane. I swear to God, I have never seen anything more outrageous as far as cockpits are concerned. Like, the steering wheel is square, but this is the list. This is the list of the problem, because is there like a million buttons? Like, literally, there is like this middle console. There is this middle console that goes through on your right. There is like, I don't joke, like 30 buttons, 30 different buttons that control everything. From like the temperature to the whatever. I cannot really see it from here. Wow. I mean, wow. The cockpit is the cockpit is something. I tell you something. I might not buy it, but I'm certainly gonna go out of my way to get a seat, to sit into one, even if it's just parked. Because
I tell you something.
It's
actually quite unique. And I was thinking that, of course, you know,
wow.
like, when you are at 100,000 euro, you basically cannot enter a Cayman GT4. So actually, I kind of want like a Cayman GT4, which is probably what I would want. But then I looked at the photos of the interior of the Corvette, and then the photos of the interior of the Cayman, which is fantastic. It's
but it's like 30 years in the future.
It's like an expensive Golf. While you look at the Corvette, and it's actually like for your money. It's like a car. And I think, especially as we grow a little bit older, and I believe that the people watching this video and the people like being in this dilemma, you know, like
they are not 60.
They are not young. They're not young. So of course, like if you are like 20 and you bought an MX-5 and you watch this channel because you just do stupid things with stupid cars, you probably completely lost the plot and you say, guys, are you like completely stupid? And yes, there is a good possibility that me, Kostas, as a car guy, I would never own any of these cars and I would prefer to have like 20 projects. But because every single year I'm going more far away from this, like emotionally, like it doesn't satisfy me. I still want it, but it doesn't satisfy me. So it's like it'll be like an abusive relationship that I have with project cars and tuning and this and that. In reality, what I need is what we are describing here. And because
what you need is a GT4, man.
Yeah, but because life is short, though, also you need experiences. So I think like living 3 years with an Alpine, I believe that it would be fantastic.
Dude, can you imagine living 3 years with a 350Rs?
Yeah, living 3 years with a 350R, like carbon wheels and crazy engine and going burnouts in random empty roads. That's completely antisocial. Yes, that. Going through 200 euro fuel in one trip. Yes, that. So I think this is what the world is missing. Because of course this list could be finished with a Golf GTI or a GTI Club Sport or whatever. Golf R. Like, fantastic, 300 horsepower.
Like super fast dishwasher.
But exactly that is the reason that I put the Civic Type R in my list and not the Golf R. Drama, feelings, life is short. And that is, I believe, for me at least, the only thing that I want to have at the end of this conversation for this podcast.
Absolutely, I agree with you in a sense that sense of occasion, and I mentioned it also in the review of the ND, like, it is very easy to overlook this when you buy, even as an enthusiast, but because if you look at the piece of paper and you make a logic decision, you might end up with something that is on paper much better. But to me, what's important is the sense of occasion, like to have an engine that sounds interesting, or to have a car that feels interesting, that you drive it is like, you sit in, turn the key, drive it, and it's an occasion. Like, I tell you something that people might not relate to, but the PT Cruiser is more of an occasion than the ND was, because of what it is and what it represents, in the sense that it's a challenge that I have with one of my friends, and because of the way that people react to it, and because of the way that I am perceived because you have to understand the paradigm shift, or rather how much out of place that car is in the environment I am working in. So like you
The
go
best
there.
example is actually these photos that you sent me the other day and this video that you posted, guys. And in case you are hearing this as a podcast, I'm just gonna describe it. He was parked at the parking of the Lindner, and say what happened.
What happens is that BMW driving experience came and they booked the whole car park. But of course, I was there and I was sleeping there. So my car was parked there from the previous nights and it stayed there. Nobody told me to move it. Hence, it stayed there. So what happened was that BMW driving experience arrived with, I don't know, 50 BMW M4s. Like from the M4 CS to the M5s to whatever the most expensive BMW M cars you can fathom was there. And the funniest thing is that, as I said, nobody told me to move the PT, so the PT was parked there, and they reserved the car park because this is where they would hand out. It is hilarious. This is where they hand out the car to the customers to drive to the Nordschleife to have their driver training, their BMW M performance driver training. And in this car park, like all the cars are divided by color and model, and everybody has like a welcome package, and there is the instructor that grabs your hand and takes you to the car. And in between all this, there was one PT Cruiser
silver
in
PT
the middle,
Cruiser,
exactly, the silver PT Cruiser parked bang on in the middle of their red BMW M4 lane, so much so that one of their cars had to be parked like sideways,
parallel
on the side because the PT was in its place. It's hilarious.
Do me this favor, go to Gab's Instagram and find this story. I think the Instagram handles are like under our photos, under our video there.
Yeah, so it's not a story. It's like one of the reels. You can find it immediately.
Go there, find it, watch it. It's actually
absolutely hilarious. But anyway,
I think we have to wrap it for this episode.
Yeah, we have to wrap it.
That was some great consumer advice. I feel like
50R and then
a series show, a Corvette. Fantastic stuff.
Man,
guys,
but
I find this
say,
interesting.
Sorry, Kostas, can I say just one thing before we wrap it? It's like of course you see that this list is varied to like we go from the ND to Mustang 350R, and this shows once more how little options you have if you want to buy an interesting car, which is an interesting car that is still reasonably priced, because of course like a 90,000 euro car is not reasonably priced, is way too expensive, but we could not find enough cars to consider without having to stretch the boundary all the way up to there, because there is nothing. So what else do you buy? You want to buy a proper Cayman, it's 100 grand or more. You want to buy a GT3, it's 200 grand. The prices are insane. Like for interesting cars, the prices are insane. And
I agree.
To some extent, I think everything just shifted up, because I think the ND should cost 20 grand or 15 grand or 18 grand, not 36. So like the ND is already a hugely expensive car, and for no reason, because for what you're buying, the price is insane.
Gab, if you want to be honest, the same goes even for the Caymans, like a GT4 for more than 100 grand.
It makes no sense.
Too much. A model that started basically around 80,000 euro, and of course Porsche saw the demand and said, okay, we're not stupid, we're gonna upsell it a little bit. And the same goes even in the end for the M2. The M2 sells so many parts with the M240i, you know, and it's the same at the end, like it's sort of the same engine and the same transmission and the same basic parts in all these models. It's a fantastic bargain for what you're paying, but at the same time, it's still too much money. Like you could go and buy a used 335i or a used M240i, tune it, and you're very close or better than the new car.
This is the problem. This is the problem.
Department car.
This is the problem that you have if you are somehow forced to get to consider
a new car. Yeah.
And this situation is where I am. So we'll see which one of these, or maybe something that we didn't even mention. So
you end up with.
Yeah, let's see what we will end up with. Kostas, I thank you very much for your time and for the glorious chat once again, and for some out of the box suggestion, which I didn't think about. And I will see you next time.